isn't it? You cannot apply something unless you understanding. Only understanding is important, is necessary for you to apply something. And what does apply mean? Apply means, solving some problems, solving some problems. So almost all the problems that you have, that we do in the class from the textbooks, they are all part of the apply level of the Bloom's taxonomy. Okay. Okay, so you are able to remember something, you have a good understanding of it, you are able to apply and solve some problems from the textbook. But is this enough? Is this enough for an engineer? Of course, this is what our university is doing. This is what our university is doing. Fine. In the exams that you give, mostly these three levels will be tested. Remember, understand, and apply. But this is not enough. You have to take the apply to the next level. The next level is analyze. The next level is analyze. Hundreds of thousands of different applications you have to do. You have to solve problems on hundreds of thousands of problems you have to solve, and you should be able to analyze what is good with one problem, what is bad with another problem. Fine. You should be able to compare, and you should be able to choose the best result out of this application. That's what is called analyze. Okay. And once you do the analysis, you will also have to do this evaluate. Fine. So in evaluate, what you do is you suppose you are given a problem wherein there is an error. Fine. You are given a problem in which there is an error. So that error you should be able to catch. And when will you be able to catch that error? If you are very good with analysis. Fine. A number of different analysis you have to do in order to in order to evaluate something. Fine. In order to find what is the error in that particular question. Right. So evaluate is the next level. And level, the last level is create. Fine. The last level is create. So these three levels, of course, the university exams are testing, but these three, they play a very, very critical role in if you want to be a good engineer. Fine. If you want to be a very good engineer, then the upper three levels, the analyze, evaluate, and create levels,
Sir, we cannot hear you.
Sir, you are muted.
so did I just now get muted, or am I been muted for a long time?
No,
No, sir,
just now.
Just now, sir.
Okay. So I think somebody is doing it. I request you not to do such things, because I've just kept everyone as an organizer. If you continue doing this, maybe I'll have to change you to attendees or something. If I change you to attendees, there are some other things which you won't be able to do. That's why I'm not doing it. But I hope you will cooperate with me and don't disturb me much in the class. Anyway, so I hope you have understood this Bloom's taxonomy. Fine. Please mute yourself. Some disturbance I'm getting. Okay, thank you. So if you have a question to ask, of course, you're free to unmute yourself and ask the question. But unless you have any doubt, please keep yourself muted. Fine. So this is what is a Bloom's taxonomy. Fine. This is what is a Bloom's taxonomy. So if you have heard me carefully, if you're doing something on apply level, of course, and university exams, they do test the application. So you should be able to solve a lot of problems. Fine. So a lot of problems also will be uploading there in the test. You will get problems. You will get questions based on understanding. In some questions, you just have to remember. Fine. Sometimes the definition or the formula, you just have to remember as it is, and you just have to choose what you remember from. So like that, we are trying to separate the questions into these levels. Fine. So what will happen is you will get 5 questions on remember level, 5 questions on remember level, and these 5 questions will be randomly chosen out of around 30 to 40 questions. So we will upload 30 to 40 questions. Out of these 5 questions randomly on remember level, you will get it. So if you solve minimum 3 questions, if you solve correctly, then the next stage will unlock. Fine. It's like a game. Fine. So this is like first stage. First stage is remember. So if you are able to answer 3 questions minimum based on remember, you will get a chance to go to the next level. That is understand level. Again, in understand level, there are 50 or 60 questions, out of which randomly you will get 5 questions. Again, you should be able to solve minimum 3 questions in this, and only then the next stage will unlock. Okay. So this is the way I'm building the course on Moodle, and at some point when it's ready, I'll provide each and every one of you with a username and password. So you should be able to log in, and you should be able to attempt these questions. If you are failing in the first attempt, of course you can attempt the same question a number of times, and you will get different questions every time you attempt. You will get different questions every time you attempt. And with minimum 3 questions to solve, the percentage is around 60%. Fine. And because this is just MCQ questions, there are chances that even by doing heads and tails, just by tossing the coin and deciding questions, there also you have a chance of passing, right? But if you are cheating in the first level, the second level you will be feeling a lot more difficult, right? So this is just for understanding purpose. This will not go into your marks. Maybe we'll just try to use it for assignment purpose. We will use this for assignment purpose. To get the assignment marks, you have to complete all these tests and all. So that's what I'm planning to do, right? So anyway, coming back to our syllabus, we have done what have we done in the previous class?
Friction force exertion, sir, in screw jack.
Yeah, we had started the applications of friction force, and yeah, so this collar bearing, screw jack and collar bearing, both we have solved, and we were able to put down the equation for that, right? So now in today's class, let's go for the next step, and that is the conical is it pivot bearing. So this we are calling it as pivot bearing. So what is pivot? What is pivot? Anyone?
Joint.
Yeah. Joint. What kind of joint? There are various different kinds of joints, like sliding
Spherical
joint, spherical joint.
Conical.
Okay, spherical also is acceptable, and revolute or turning pair also is acceptable. So pivot, what it means is a point about which objects can rotate. Fine, a point about which the objects can rotate. Suppose you take a door. So door has ability to swing, right? So this point here becomes the pivot. That point here becomes the pivot. So in this diagram here, you can see in this diagram 8.12, you can see. Has anybody started the recording?
Yes, sir.
Started. Okay, thank you. So yeah, I was talking about this thing. So 8.12 on the rightmost side, you can see this is called a pivot bearing. Fine. So in the pivot bearing, you can see there is a conical support. There is a conical support in which a conical shaft is resting. Conical shaft is resting. So our aim next is to find out what will be the torque requirement in this case. What will be the torque requirement in this case? Okay. So ready?
Yes, sir.
So let me just draw this conical support. Okay, let me take a different color. Okay, so this, you can say it's the shaft. This is the shaft. Okay, okay, this is the shaft, and the other one here, this is the support. Okay, this is the support. Now this angle, we'll call it as alpha. That angle is, we'll call it as alpha. Now we'll have to again do the same derivations. We'll have to again do the same derivations that we have done in the previous class, and in today's class we'll have to consider this alpha also. In today's class we'll have to consider the alpha also. Okay, so once again I will just start with I'll just start with small area. Okay, a small area I will start with. Fine. So the outer radius, let me call RO, inner radius RI. Fine. And this radius here, this I'll call it as dr. Fine. This radius I'll call it as dr. And the thickness of this I'll call it as dr. Okay, thickness of that I'll call it as dr. Okay, now dr is this horizontal distance. Fine. Dr is this horizontal distance. Let me just expand, magnify this small area, and that small area I'm magnifying it, and you are now watching that. Fine. So this length here is dr. This length here is dl. Length here is dl, and this is vertical. The angle of this surface with the vertical, this angle is alpha. Correct. So now once again we'll have to start with the small area. Small area. So area is this strip. The area is this strip. Fine. So this area will be equal to 2 pi r. 2 pi r. This is the circumference into the length. Length is not dr. Fine. Length is not dr. Length is dl. Length is dl. So you should be very careful with this. Okay. And now we have to convert this dl into dr. So what is the relation between dr and dl? How they are related? One is hypotenuse, dl is hypotenuse, and dr is opposite. Opposite by hypotenuse, what is it?
Sine
Sine alpha, right? So sine alpha is opposite, that is dr by dl. So we want the relation for dl. So dl is going to be dr by sine alpha. Correct? So now the formula for dA becomes 2 pi r into dr by sine alpha. Fine. So this is the formula for our dA. Right. After finding dA, what is the next thing we need? What is the next thing we need? We need the normal reaction, isn't it? We need the normal reaction. So what is the formula for normal reaction? What is the formula for normal reaction? Pressure
into area.
Pressure into area. Pressure into area. So now the pressure at this point multiplied with the area. That's what it is. So now area formula we have found it. So substitute it. So it will be pressure into 2 pi r dr by sine alpha, isn't it? Now using this dn, the normal reaction, what we have to find next? Next, what do we have to find? Come on, tell me. You have to find the friction, right? Just check the previous one, you can check, and the same procedure we are following here. So here we have found the dn, and after dn we are finding df. So df is the frictional force. So what is the frictional force? Mu into dn. So now again substitute mu into dn. Dn is nothing but p into 2 pi r dr by sin alpha, right? So this is the small frictional force. After frictional force, what did we find? After frictional force, we found the torque. So again, put the torque. What is the torque? Formula for torque? Friction force into radial
Force into
distance, right? So now again, frictional force is substitute. So mu into p into 2 pi r dr by sin alpha multiplied with r. Correct. So what did we learn? What did we do after t? After dt, we found the total. Correct. After dt, we found the total torque. So once again, here we have to find the total torque. Fine. So total torque. So what is the formula for total torque? Total torque T is integration of dt. So integration. So let's take the constant terms outside first. So mu is constant. What about P? P is constant or not? Is P constant? That depends on the condition we are assuming. So let us first assume uniform pressure. Let us first assume uniform pressure. So if you are assuming uniform pressure, pressure will be constant, right? P will be equal to constant. P will be equal to constant. So let us take the P outside. 2 pi is constant. R, dr and r, they are not constants. What about sin alpha? Alpha, is it constant? Alpha is constant. You know, you can see in the figure here.
yeah, it's fixed.
Yeah, the alpha angle is not changing. So we can keep it constant. So inside the integration, what do we have? Inside integration, we have r square dr. And what are the limits for r? R out,
R not.
R naught, and R in, right? So let's now go ahead and solve it. So mu into P into 2 pi by sin alpha. So we get r cube by 3 and put the limits. Sorry, r inside is below, no? R inside is below, r outside is above. So r inside, r outside. Lower value is below, upper value is above. So mu P 2 pi by sin alpha. And let's take this 3 also outside. And now put the limits. Limits when you put r naught cube by r in cube. This is what we got. Now, what is the formula for pressure? What is the formula for pressure?
Force by area.
Force by area. So which force we have to take? Which force we have to take? We have to take the vertical force. You have to take the vertical force, because the downward force that is acting, W or mg, that is acting vertical, but the pressure is acting at an angle. Pressure is acting at an angle. Fine. So that you should be careful with. Okay. So df, it is inclined, of course. And what is the angle of df? Angle of df with horizontal is alpha. So when you want the vertical component, what you have to do? Vertical component will be sin alpha. So df into sin alpha, you have to integrate this. Df into sin alpha, you have to integrate it. That will give us the total force in vertical direction. That will give us the total force in vertical direction. The total force divided by total area. Total force divided by total area. That will give us total force by total area. That will give us the pressure, isn't it? No, sorry. Actually, we are not putting the formula for pressure here. We are putting a formula for W. W is the total weight, right? So the total weight will be dF into sine alpha integrated. dF into sine alpha integrated. So dF formula we know here. So substitute, and there you will get the formula for pressure. So dF is mu into P into 2 pi r dr by sine alpha into sine alpha. So this sine and sine will cancel. So in this case, we are finding that the formula for pressure is same as the formula for pressure here. So whatever was the formula for pressure here, the same is the formula here also. So pressure formula will be same as what is this? Yeah, this is the pressure formula, right? So weight divided by pi times r naught square minus r in square. So this is the formula for pressure. So the same formula we can substitute here. Same formula we can substitute here. So P into 2 pi by, P, instead of P we have to substitute that thing, right? So W by pi r naught square minus r in square, right? And below we have 3 times sine alpha, right? So pi and pi will cancel. P has already been substituted, and in the numerator of course we have this r cube minus r cube, right? So what do we get? We end up with the formula mu into W into 2 by 3 times r naught cube by r in cube by r naught square minus r in square. So looking at this formula, does it remind you of something? Is it same as the previous formula?
Yes, sir. Uniform pressure.
Yeah, it is the same as the previous formula for uniform pressure. And here also we have assumed uniform pressure. The only difference, what is the only difference here? What is the only difference? Sine alpha, isn't it? Sine alpha was
Yes, sir.
not there in sine alpha was not there in the previous derivation that we did yesterday, but today we got sine alpha extra. Now looking at this formula, can you tell me whether the torque here is more or less when compared to this? Compared to collar bearing, in the pivot bearing, is the torque more or less? Is the torque more or less? Is it more or less? Come on, you see, these are the things you should be good at answering. These are the sort of questions you should be good at answering. Fine. These are called fundamentals. And when you go for the interview, in the companies, when you go for the interview, they will not ask very, very complicated formula. They may even provide you with a formula. They will give you the formula and they will ask you what is the meaning of that, right? And this you should be good at. So this is sine alpha.
The factor.
Yes, ma'am.
The factor. Yes, sir. Sine alpha. We will make
Yeah.
it smaller. Torque.
Torque will be smaller in the pivot bearing. You should know the range of sine
Yes.
alpha. What is the range of sine alpha? Sine alpha minimum value is 0. And what is the maximum value? Maximum value is 1. Isn't it? So that
Yes, sir.
means the value of sine alpha will always be 0 point something. 0 point something. Isn't it? Now if you multiply, suppose let's say 0.5 I'm multiplying with 2. What do I get? 0.5 if I multiply with 2, I'm getting 1. So here what is happening? Decreasing. The value is decreasing. Before multiplying it was 2. After multiplying it has become 1. So it is decreasing, right? So if the value is in numerator, then it will decrease. But here we have sine alpha in the denominator, right? So we have to do 2 by 0.5. So what do we get? 2 by 0.5. What do we get? 2 by 0.5. We're getting 4. We're getting 4. So before calculating it was 2. After calculation it became 4. That means what happened? It has increased. It has increased. So now tell me, will the torque be more in conical in the pivot or less?
More, sir.
More. It will be more. Fine. It will be more. So now the same formula can also be converted into the previous formula. See, this formula here can also be converted into the previous formula. How can we do it? How can we do it?
If the angle is
If
if the angle
alpha
is
is
90
90 degrees. Yeah, very good. If alpha angle is 90 degrees, if alpha angle is 90 degrees, what happens here? You can see in the diagram that alpha is this angle. So when it becomes 90 degrees, that means it becomes flat. Alpha, it becomes 90 degrees, then it becomes flat, and it will give us the same formula as before. Okay, because sine 90, what is sine 90? Sine 90 is 1. Sine 90 is 1. So if you substitute alpha equal to alpha equal to 90 degrees in this equation, you will get the previous equation as it is. You will get the previous equation as it is, right? So now we can further, make this formula more generalized. We can further make that formula more generalized. How can we make it more generalized? Torque equal to mu w by sine alpha, mu w by sine alpha into r mean. What is the value of r mean? R mean value is 2 by 3 r out cube minus r in cube by r out square minus r in square. Okay, so in which case? For
uniform pressure.
Uniform pressure. This is for uniform pressure, and the same value r mean will be equal to r out plus r in by 2 when this is for uniform wear, and alpha equal to 90 degrees. This is for collar bearing. This is for collar bearing. Okay, so now if you remember this one formula, you will be able to solve problems on collar bearing. You will be able to solve problems on collar bearing. You will be able to solve problems on pivot bearing. Fine. Not only bearing, you can also apply it for brakes, collar brake, or pivot brake. So the brake has a slightly different terminology. Fine. Slightly different terminology is there for that. So when we're talking about brakes, the terminology is slightly different. So instead of calling collar brakes, we call it as plate brakes. And instead of pivot bearing, we call it as conical brake. Fine. And if you are using a number of plates, then we call it as multi-plate. Fine. So in case you are using multiple plates, then you will get one more term here. And that is n. Now what is n? N is number of plates. Okay. Instead of number of plates, you can write number of engaging surfaces. Fine. So what happens is that the shaft will carry a number of plates. Fine. So let us say this is the shaft. The shaft will carry a number of plates, and the covering will also carry a number of plates. Fine. So how many contact surfaces are there here? Because friction will always act at the contact surface, right? So we have to count the number of contact surfaces. So here there is one contact, here there is another contact, here there is another contact, here there is another. So total of 4 contacts are there. Fine. So for this particular diagram, n equal to 4. So like this, No
Sir,
matter how
for
many,
pivot
how,
bearing, there will be more friction.
sorry.
For pivot bearing, there will be more friction as it has
Yeah,
more
of course.
surface.
Yes. Pivot bearing has more friction, but the advantage with pivot bearing is that its center will not shift. Its center will not shift. Fine, because the axis here that we are getting, the axis here will remain fixed. Okay? So this is the advantage with pivot bearing. But of course, if you want to utilize that advantage, you have to utilize at the cost of friction. It will need more friction. Fine. But in the brakes, of course, this is positive. In the brakes, this is positive because our aim is to increase friction in case of brakes. In bearings, our aim is to reduce friction, whereas in brakes, our aim should be to increase the friction. So the same thing which is villain for the bearing becomes a hero for the brakes. Okay. So any doubts here? Any doubts with this?
No, sir.
So one more derivation is there, of course. I will not do that. What is the other derivation?
Uniform wear, sir.
Yeah, uniform wear. So for uniform wear also, you will have to do the same derivation. And in this case, as we have discussed in the previous case, we have to assume R into P as constant. R into P as constant, we have to assume. Fine. So the remaining process remains the same. Remaining process remains the same. So formula I have already written here. Formula I have already written here. So R mean value you will get like this. And there also you will get sine alpha in the denominator. At the end of this, you will again get sine alpha in the denominator. Fine. So if I want to write the total formula, the torque formula will be mu into W into R mean. R mean will be R naught plus R in by 2. And of course, here you will get sine alpha. So at the end of this derivation for uniform wear, you should get this formula. And this is the formula we are again combining into generalized format. Fine. Generalized formula. So this single formula, if you remember, along with what each term is in that, along with what each term represents, then you should be able to solve all these problems. Fine. So collar bearing, pivot bearing, plate brake, conical brake, and even multi-plate brakes. If you insert this extra term, that is N, the number of engaging surfaces. In case of bearings, of course, the N value we should always take it as 1. So only when there are number of multiple contact surfaces, as in the multi-plate clutch, only there you will be using it, of course. Okay. So you can even apply that in the clutches. Clutch also uses the same set of formula. Clutch also uses the same set of formulae. Fine. So is this clear? So we have done derivation for collar bearing, for pivot bearing, and as the same formula can be applied for brakes and clutches, so the same formula can be used there also. Same formula can be used there also. Okay. So this file I will share to you at the end of this class. So you can just go through that. The videos are getting recorded. So if you want to understand this derivation, you can come to the open the video and take a look at it. And if you want the theory, you can just open this file, go through it, by heart it, and that should do. Okay. So screw threads we have done the pivots and collars and clutches. So all these things we have covered. So what remains? So next thing we have to start is belt and rope drives. Belt and rope drives we have to start next. So shall we start? Or you want a 5-minute
Yes.
break?
I can start, sir.
Okay. So it's 11:20 right now. The class is up to 11:40, right? So we have 20 minutes. Hopefully we should be able to cover it. So, okay. So let me take two circles, one of 20 radius, the other horizontal. Horizontal 100 distance, 50 radius. Okay, so let me just put the dimensions. So this is 100 length, this is 20 radius, 50 radius. Fine. So let us assume that these are the pulleys. Let us assume these are the pulleys. Increase their thickness also. Okay, so these are the two pulleys, and I want a belt drive around this. I want a belt drive around this. Fine. So the belt, we all know it will be tangential, right? It will be tangential to both. Oh, not this. Should be on this side. Okay. Okay, so this is our belt drive. Okay, so what kind of belt drive do we call this? What is the type of this belt drive?
Open belt type, sir.
Yeah. Okay, so this is open belt drive. Open belt drive. Fine. And we also have closed belt drive. So how the closed belt drive will be? Closed belt drive. What will be the closed belt drive? How it will be? So instead of having this, so same copy I'm taking. So instead of the belt going like this, the belt will go crisscross. Okay. So it will start here. Yeah, fine. Here. Okay. So this is what the belt drive is going to look in the closed drive. Fine. So we can take a snap of this and place it. Okay. So this is the closed belt drive. Fine. This is the closed belt drive. Now, whenever we know the diameters of the pulley, if the diameters of the pulley are known, diameters of the pulleys and distance between centers. So when these things are given, you should be able to find the length of belt. So this is what we will do today. Fine. So this is the derivation again. This is a derivation, and this derivation we will do for the length of belt. We have to find the length of belt in both the cases, in open belt drive as well as in closed belt drive. In open belt drive as well as in the closed belt drive, we have to find the length of belt. Okay, so how do we find it? Let's begin. Let's start doing it. Okay, so first thing I'll do, I'll just join this with this endpoint, this point with this endpoint. Fine. And then I'll take offset. So this is some construction work we have to do. This is a construction work we have to do. Fine. So what I've done here, let me take this. This is small r, let us say, and over this side, this one, let us say it is capital R. Okay, so this total length is capital R. So now how much will be this this length? This length here will be smaller, because these lines will make a rectangle, right? These lines will end up with a rectangle, isn't it? So because these lines are ending up with a rectangle, this length here will be same as this length, isn't it? Now the total length here is r, so this r minus small r, this r minus small r, that's what will remain here. So is this clear? Is this clear?
Yes.
Yeah. So let me take a snap of this. So this is the construction we have to do to start doing the derivation, and take that. Where's it go? Okay. So this angle here is going to be, let us call it as alpha. Let us call that angle as alpha. And this length, the length at the bottom is L. The length here is r minus r, capital R minus small r. Small r is the radius of the smaller circle. Capital R is the radius of capital circle, the larger circle, right? Larger circle. Now this small r is here. So now because these are 90 degrees to each other, that's what gives us the rectangle. Rectangle. Okay. So now we have to take this triangle. So let me call this as OQ, and let me give some points. So A, B, C, something, right? So triangle, what's triangle? OQC. Triangle OQC. In triangle OQC, we know the hypotenuse and we know the opposite. So which ratio we should use? Which ratio we should
Sine.
use? Opposite by hypotenuse. We have to use sine. So sine alpha equal to opposite by hypotenuse. Opposite is how much? Capital R minus small r, and hypotenuse is L. So sine alpha equal to this, right? So now because alpha is small, alpha angle is very small, isn't it? Alpha angle is very small, and because alpha angle is very small, what happens to sine alpha? Sine alpha will be almost equal to alpha. Sine alpha will almost be equal to alpha. Do you agree with this? Do you agree with this?
Yes.
Yes. So many times in mathematics you must have used this. When alpha is very small, then sine alpha equal to alpha. But the important condition is alpha should be in radians. Alpha should be in radians. We cannot take alpha in degrees. We cannot take alpha in degrees. For example, sine of 10 degrees. How much is sine of 10 degrees? How much is sine of 10 degrees? 10 sine. 0.17. 0.17. So is 10 equal to 17? 0.17? No, there is a huge difference, isn't it? There is a huge difference. But when you take the 10 degrees, when you take it in radians, 10 degrees when you take it in radians. So how to convert to radians? Multiply with pi by 180. Multiply with pi by 180. So 10 into pi value is 3.14 divided by 180. 0.17, isn't it? So if you take the angle, in radians, you can see the value is 0.17. So 0.17, 0.17, they're almost same, right? They're almost same, isn't it?
Yes, sir.
So this is one important thing which you have to remember. In mathematics, generally the teachers, they don't tell you this, fine. But when it comes to application, you should be very clear about the units used. So alpha should be taken in radians. Only then sine alpha will be can be taken as alpha. Sine alpha can be taken as alpha. Okay. So now, if you substitute that here, what happens? Alpha will be equal to capital R minus small r by L. Capital R minus small r by L. Okay. So now we have to find the total length of the belt. We have to now find the total length of the belt. So in order to find the total length, we'll have to find this length first. We'll have to find this length first. Fine. So how much is this length? That we can easily find using you can use the Pythagoras theorem, or you can use trigonometry, right? So let me see OC. OC is the length we want. So OC can be written as L into cos alpha. Can I write L into cos alpha? Okay, L into cos alpha I can write, or I can also write this as using the Pythagorean relation. So L square minus capital R minus small r whole square, and I have to take under root, isn't it? So this is the length OC. This is the length OC. So if you are finding the length of belt, it will be in 4 parts: 1, 2, 3, and 4. Okay. So what are the 4 parts? The first part is OC. Actually, it is AB. And on the lower side also you will get the same AB. So we can just multiply AB 2 times, or else let me take it in the same order. So 1 is AB, 2 is the arc. Fine. And plus again AB length on the lower side, that is third. And finally the arc again, the arc. Fine. So here I'll just write small arc and large arc. Fine. So all these lengths we have to multiply, we have to get them. So AB length we already got it. AB is same as OC, because here we can see it's a rectangle, and in a rectangle opposite sides are equal. So AB is equal to OC. So we got the length of AB. So this we got. Now we got to find these two, small arc and large arc. Fine. So let's proceed and find it. So small arc. How to find small arc? What is the formula for arc length? Arc length.
Theta by 316.
Yes, theta by 360 into 2
Into
pi
2
r
into circumference.
into circumference. So this is one formula. So let's take it. So what is theta? Theta here is this angle. And that angle, it will be 180 minus 2 alpha. 180 minus 2 alpha. Do you agree? Is it 180 minus 2 alpha? Let me show here.
No, sir. It will be moved.
I'm drawing a vertical line here. Okay. And the same angle will come on this side. So I'm interested in finding this angle. Fine. So don't worry about this. Okay. So this alpha, this is the angle. So actually this is angle theta. This is angle theta. So this is what I want to find, right? And this angle we have written is as alpha. So the angle between these two lines will also be alpha. So this is a straight angle, 180 degrees. So 180 minus 2 times of this angle, that is alpha. So 180 minus 2 alpha, that is the angle theta. So divided by 360 into 2 pi r. So this 360 and 2 pi, we can cancel them. If we take 360 in radians, it will be same as 2 pi, and we can just cancel them. So this becomes the formula. So once again, if you substitute the formula for alpha, what will you get? Again, this 180, I will just write it as pi. 180, I'll write it as pi. So pi minus 2 times alpha. Alpha is capital R minus small r by L. And this I have to multiply with small r. Okay. Is this clear? Any doubts here?
No, sir.
So this will give us the length of arc, the length of small arc length. Okay. Now the large arc length, large arc length. So once again, we'll be using the same formula. But here the angle theta will be different. Here the angle theta will be different. Okay. Actually, it will be same in this case. It will be same. Okay. So once again, I'll take a vertical line. Right. So
It will
again,
be
you can see
180.
this angle again will be alpha. This bottom angle will also be alpha. Okay, 180 plus it should be. It should be 180 plus. Because I'm interested in this total angle. I'm interested in this angle. This is the angle I'm interested in. So this is theta dash. Fine. So theta dash will be 180 plus 2 alpha. Theta dash will be 180 plus 2 alpha divided by 360 into, of course, 2 pi r. So again, I'll take it in radians. So this and this will cancel. And once again, I have to substitute the angle. So 180, I will take it as pi plus 2 times alpha. Alpha again, r minus r by L. So multiply this with capital R. Okay. So this is the small arc. This is the large arc. And AB length also, we know it. So what will be the total length?
So do we get capital R for large arc?
Sorry?
With 2 pi R, no sir. 2 pi R will be
Yes. Very good. Thank you. So here it should not be small r because this is the radius we are using. So it has to be capital R. It has to be capital R. So the total length will be 2 times of this length. So 2 times under root L square minus r minus small r whole square under root plus the other one. This is pi minus 2 times r minus r by L. Multiply this with r plus again multiply this with this. Okay. So this is the total formula. Okay. Any doubts here? Note this down. Note this down. This
Sir,
is the
could you explain AB is equal to OC, sir, L cos alpha, so that formula how we got, sir? That I didn't follow.
AB is equal to OC. You see these 4 lines. These 4 lines will result in a rectangle, isn't it? Because this line is a
Yes,
tangent.
sir.
This line here
Yes,
is a
sir.
tangent, and this is the line touching center with the end of tangent. So the angle between
Okay, sir.
these two is 90 degrees.
Yes,
And
sir.
the same goes here. Now this is again
Yes.
the line joining center with the end of tangent. This is tangent to the circle. So the angle between the tangent and normal is 90 degrees, isn't it?
Yes, sir.
And then this line we have drawn parallel to this opposite line.
Okay, sir.
Fine. So all the angles in the quadrilateral in the diagram found by joining these 4 lines will be 90 degrees. All the angles will be 90 degrees, and hence
Yes.
this becomes a rectangle. And if
Yes,
it is
sir.
a rectangle, we all know the opposite lengths are equal.
Yes, sir.
So AB is equal to OC.
Okay, sir.
And for OC, we have used this formula, the Pythagorean relation.
Okay, sir.
Okay.
Okay, sir.
So we have not used this trigonometric relation. Maybe you are getting confused with that.
Yes, sir.
This one we are not using. We are using this one. Any other doubts?
No, sir. Understood.
I'll just share this on your group. Previous, this one also is shared. Group. Okay. So these are the two derivations we did today. So I think the time is over. It's 11:40 already. So those who don't have any doubts, you can leave. I'm here available for 5 more minutes. If you have doubts, you can get them cleared.
Thank you, sir.
Okay.